It's fall, y'all! So here's the deal. The minute that September hits, it is fall. I don't care what the calendars say. Y'all can keep your hot girl summer. I am here for a melancholy girl fall, and I'm ready. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a few of the books that I want to read in September. I tried to use some self-control and I tried to not put every single spooky, haunted, witchy, horror-y, thriller-y, bone-chilling, terrifying, vampire-y, ghosty book on this TBR because we gotta save some stuff for October and I need to chill. Easier said than done. So let's get into it. These are just some of the books that I'm thinking I might pick up this month. Cool? So first of all, I would like to finish the Inheritance Games trilogy. So in August, I read the Inheritance Games during a 24-hour wrapped book mystery TBR vlog. If you haven't seen that, feel free to check it out. I had a good time. Maybe you would too. So now I would like to read Hawthorne Legacy and The Final Gambit to finish out this trilogy. These were super quick reads. They were super fun. So I'm interested to see how the mystery plays out, what else happens. I'm excited. I'm ready. Let's do it. Next up, we have some new Book of the Month books. I got Gone Tonight by Sarah Pekkanen in last month's box. I also got Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. Or is it Gillian? Who's to say? I really need to look that up. I don't know what either of these are about, but I want to read them. Also in last month's Book of the Month, I got Vampires of El Norte. And this is by Isabel Cañas. And she was the author of The Hacienda, which I still haven't read. I got this one last year. Everybody seems to love this. I think they're very gothic, horror, spooky-ish. So I would love to read both of these this month. I would love to do maybe like a Isabel taste test, see if I like her writing, see if I like this author, see if she's going to become an auto-buy author for me. It seems spooky and it seems haunty and I feel like it's a good time for it. Next up we have The Cloisters. This book is about a girl who goes to work at the cloisters. And for those of you that don't know, I live in New York City and more specifically in Upper Manhattan. So the Cloisters is about a 15-minute subway ride from me. And I love the Cloisters. I love history in general and especially medieval history. So I'm thinking it might be fun to go take a trip up to the Cloisters and maybe read some of this while I'm visiting there. Next up, we have a reread. This is Bunny by Mona Awad. I read this when it came out. It was so weird that I don't think I fully appreciated it. But over time, the more that I think about it, the more brilliant I realize that I think it was. And I want to go back and reread it again because I feel like a second read through, I feel like I will probably like it more, give it a higher rating. And I feel like it's the perfect time for it because it takes place at a college. So it's going to have like back to school vibes. Next up, we have Hellbent. This is the sequel to Ninth House. I can't believe I still haven't read this. This came out at the very beginning of the year and I couldn't have been more excited about it. It is time to read it. I have got to get to it. This series takes place at Yale with secret societies, which is like so up my alley. It's September, which means back to school, which means it's the perfect time to read this. Next up is the most intimidating book on this month's TBR, Babel by R.F. Kuang. I love R.F. Kuang. I loved the Poppy War trilogy. Loved it. But this is a different beast in and of itself. This is so overwhelming. It's so long. I feel like it's going to be incredibly complex and literary, and I don't know if I'm smart enough to understand it. I want to be, but I don't know for sure. But I want to read this so bad. This is also one of the most beautiful books I have. This is the Fairy Loot edition. I mean, the sprayed edges alone, but like, come on. I mean, come on. With the sprayed edges, like, get out of here. I need to read it. so that I can display it proudly, and not just because it's pretty, but because I read it and liked it. The final stack are all books that I received from my Fairy Loot adult book only subscription box. And more specifically, they are all books that I had never heard of prior to receiving it from Fairy Loot. So I want to give them all a try. I'm cautiously optimistic about these because I didn't choose them for myself based on their synopsis. In fact, I don't know the plots for the most part of all of these. But if I keep getting these books and not reading them, it's a waste. So I need to start reading them. They're beautiful editions, and I have a feeling I'm going to find some gems. So first up, we have The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramis. This is about a spy master to the queen with a blood oath and dark magic and a relationship with Will. We don't know who Will is, but I don't want to read the entire synopsis because spoilers. So that's all I know. Next we have Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow. This is a fantasy having to do with Chinese deities and demons in a Jazz Age Shanghai. About a half vampire, half fox spirit named Lady Jing. I don't know. Guys. Maybe? Yes? No? Maybe? Who knows? This is by Ehibor Akosun. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I used the pronunciation in the author's bio, which was very helpful. This is called Forged by Blood, and this is about Nigerian folklore, I believe. So it sounds really interesting. It's a stunning edition. A tale of rebellion and redemption, love and lies. Epic fantasy at its finest, steeped in Nigerian mythology. Cool. This is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, who I have heard of, but I don't know that I would have picked this book up right away if it hadn't been sent to me by Fairy Loot. So it's now or never, you know? I feel like all of these are going to give me a chance to get back into the fantasy swing of things just in time for peak fantasy season, which is fall, winter. Maybe I'll even do like a Fairy Loot reading vlog. Sorry if there's been a change in the angles or the lighting. We had to take a brief intermission due to some outside interference with our audio. I tried to wait as long as I can, but apparently they are not going to stop partying, so we're just going to have to push through it. That's Harlem for ya. Next up, we have Morning Star. This is the third book in the Red Rising trilogy. I finally finished Golden Sun in August. I have tried to read that book like 5 different times over the last couple of years. I don't know why I couldn't get through it, but I finished it, and I have high hopes that Morning Star and also the new trilogy, which the third book just came out. So there's Iron Gold, Dark Age, and Lightbringer, which is the new book. I have high hopes that the rest of these are going to be bigger wins for me than Golden Sun was, because the ending of Golden Sun made me want to keep going very badly. So because of that, I want to keep the momentum going, and I want to read this in September so that I can get to the new trilogy over the next couple of months before the end of the year. My goal is to finish all of the current Red Rising books before the end of the year. I love Pierce Brown. I love his writing. The whole overall story is so compelling that I am dying to see what else he has in store. Not to mention he is one of the most attractive authors on my bookshelf. So there's that. Next up we have The Night Sister. This is by Jennifer McMahon. She is like a horror thriller author, and I really enjoyed her most recent book, which is The Children on the Hill. I loved that. And I've heard really good things about this one. I don't quite know what it's about. There's a motel, which is a thriving attraction in Vermont. There are 3 women who played there as children, and one of them is accused of committing a horrific crime. And apparently they have to revisit the fate of 2 sisters that lived there during its heyday, one of which is a leading lady in Alfred Hitchcock's movies. It sounds fun. It sounds like a spooky good time, and I'm intrigued. Next up, we have The London Seance Society by Sarah Penna. This is the same author that wrote The Lost Apothecary, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I've heard much better things about this than about that. I think that's a bit of a quieter story, more of a historical literary situation. So this one, I believe, is going to be a little bit more up my alley, so I want to give it a try. It takes place in 1873 in Paris. I guess there's an acclaimed spiritualist who's known worldwide for her talent in conjuring spirits of murder victims to ascertain the identities of people who killed them. So I guess a woman named Lena comes to work for this spiritualist because she wants to solve her sister's murder. And there's seances, which again, spooky good time. Next up, it is that time of year again where we want to dabble a little bit into our good friend Stephen King. So I have his newest release, which is Fairy Tale. This came out in the beginning of the year, probably around February. I'm not gonna lie, every time I go into a Stephen King, I am intimidated due to the length, due to his writing. I can't always find my way into the stories that easily, but generally once I get myself in, I end up loving them. He is a great writer, but some of his books are just easier than others to get into. But I have a feeling that if I'm gonna like a Stephen King, this is gonna be one that I would like, just due to the nature of it, the genre of it. This is about a kid, because what else is new? It's Stephen King. It is about a kid whose parents died when he was 7, I believe. He ends up meeting an old recluse and starts doing odd jobs for him. And when he passes away, he leaves Charlie a cassette tape telling a story about this secret portal to another world. And apparently this is like a tale of good versus evil. I don't know. It could be fun. It's long. What else is new? And then every year I try to read some of Stephen King's backlist because I didn't get into reading him until much later in life. So a lot of the classics that everybody talks about when it comes to King, I haven't read yet. So this year, or at least this month, I want to finally read The Shining. This is a bind up of 3 books, but The Shining is the one I'm going to focus on. And I want to read The Shining and I want to watch the movie, which will be the first time, which is an embarrassment. I can't believe I've never seen it, but I've refused to watch it because I always knew I wanted to read the book. It's time. It's finally time. I want to read The Shining, and then I want to watch the movie, and I want to be scared out of my mind. I'm hoping that I'll be scared out of my mind. I know a ton about the Shanley Hotel. I know a ton about his writing of this book and how it all started. So it's about time that I read it and watch the movie. Next up, we have Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This is, I believe, almost like a cozy fantasy from her. It is about a housekeeper who suddenly inherits her great uncle's estate. Apparently there's this guy, this immortal swordsman, who's trapped in a sword that's left behind in this house. So apparently this maid Hala draws the sword that imprisons him, which forces him into servitude for her. So he has to defend her and protect her against any enemies that may come, which right now is this family that wants the inheritance from her. I do love T. Kingfisher's writing. I haven't read any fantasy from her yet. I really want to read this. I want to read Nettle and Bone. There's a couple of them that I haven't gotten to yet. And I figured this is a good place to start because I think it's a bit of a low stakes sort of fantasy. Might be fun to like dabble into. Next up, we have Anastasia by Sophie Lark. This is a long book. I feel like half of the books on this TBR are too damn long. So this one is a little bit scary. Sophie Lark is primarily a romance author, and this is an adult fantasy romance based off of the story of Anastasia, which I've always loved that story. I've always loved the Romanovs, and studying that time period is fascinating to me, literally ever since the Disney movie. I feel like this could be really fun. I have read a few of Sophie Lark's books in the Brutal Birthright series, not all of them, but I'm about halfway through that series. They're fairly basic, and they're certainly not this long. So I'm interested to see what she would do with a more historical, fantastical based story while interweaving her romance into it. She does write really interesting characters, and I feel like this could be really fun, but also I feel like there's no excuse for it being this long. So that worries me. And the final book on the TBR is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is definitely a backlist title. It came out years and years ago, probably about 5 years ago, This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and I think it's an adult fantasy. I hope it's an adult fantasy. I want to say it's an adult fantasy, but I could be wrong. Miriam is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenders, but her father's inability to collect his debts has left his family on the edge of poverty when an ill-advised boast draws the attention of the king of the Staric Grim Fae creatures. Fae? Okay, I didn't expect that. But the Tsar is not what he seems, and he hides secrets. I don't know. This is... I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go, but it's been sitting on my TBR forever. I cannot bring myself to get rid of it because I have a feeling... I don't know. I have a good feeling about it, but every time I pick it up, I'm like, nah. So, I don't know. I don't know what made me put it on this TBR this month, but I did, and it's here, and I might read it, or I might not. Story of my life. But that is everything on this month's TBR. I hope that I can get through a lot of these. I have zero ambitions of getting through all of them. But let me know if I should prioritize any of these, if you've read any of these and you think that I'm really going to like them or that they're really worth the read. And let me know what's on your TBR for September, because maybe you'll inspire me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go lean into my fall cozy vibes and start reading. Bye! All of the books that I want to read in the month of December. I want to bring on the spooky, the scary, the cold. So I'm interested to just... The leather jackets, the boots, the flannel, the sweaters, the scarves. I also got Not Another Missing... Can't wait till I get to film in the winter when I'm not sweating. The libraries, the back-to-school shopping, the ghosts, the haunted houses, the paranormal investigations, the red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, the witches, hocus pocus, cauldrons, skulls, skeletons. Jesus, I need help. A.Y. Chow? Yes. Vampires, blood, blood red, blood moons, Okosun, Ehibor Okosun, full moons, cemeteries, pumpkin patches, hay rides, haunted hay rides. I can't speak. Okay, that didn't make sense. Let's